Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jim Kleiber Show. I am Jim Kleiber. Today is Friday, November 20th, 2020, and we are sitting here live, coming to you from a very warm, oddly warm November day, late November day here in Michigan. I don't really know what to talk about today. Maybe I want to talk about not knowing what to talk about, or not knowing what to say, or not knowing in general. That sounds like a fun topic. I think we can put so much pressure on ourselves to know the answer to things. For example, the curtain behind me started to fall down. Why is it falling down? What was wrong? Why was it falling down? Oh, was the box moved? Was this happening? Was that happening? What was wrong? I think we can put so much pressure on ourselves to try to figure out the answer. And then we just, in some ways, go crazy trying to figure out what's going to happen, trying to be able to predict what's going to happen. Can't remember where I was reading it, but they were talking about the purpose of the brain. One guy says the main purpose of the brain is movement. Another person, I think, says that one of the main purposes of the brain is prediction, that we're constantly trying to predict what's going to happen. And if we can't predict what is going to happen, I think sometimes we get stuck in this trying to predict mode. Like, I don't know what's going to happen, and I need to know what's going to happen, and so I just cycle over and over and over and try to figure it out. Has it happened to you? Has it happened to you a lot during this pandemic? Not knowing if your place of work is going to be open, not knowing what's going to happen to your finances, not knowing if you're going to contract the virus, not knowing what will happen if you contract the virus, not knowing what the long-term effects of the virus are, not knowing what will happen if you spread the virus to someone else, not knowing what will happen when we can, quote unquote, get back to normal, not knowing when, what's going to happen politically in the US or in other countries, not knowing what's going to happen in so many different ways. I think this experience of a pandemic, at least here in the US, and I'm sure in many parts of the world, added so much uncertainty and unpredictability to our lives that we're not used to having. I normally get this level of unpredictability in a way when I travel overseas, but then in that time, I'm doing it intentionally. Like, I know I'm jumping into a place where I don't know what's going on, and in some ways I actually let go and just go, okay, people around me know what's going on, and I'll just let them guide me through it. But in this scenario, most people around us had no idea what was going on, right? And I think we can really, really put stress on ourselves to try to figure out the answers. But in reality, we're just human beings. We can't know the answers to everything. We can't predict things with perfect accuracy. Even if we could, would that be any fun? Would it be any fun to be able to predict every single thing that was going to happen? It makes life pretty boring when we can. I know that's what they're going to say. You ever been in a conversation with someone and, they tell the same stories over and over again, and you go, here they go again. They start with the first three words and you go, okay, I know how they finish this one. In a way, too much predictability, too much certainty over things can really bore us or numb us. And I think it's just this balance, if we think about life as being about, I think about our brains and our bodies about predicting things and expecting things to happen. I think it's the balance of expecting it to happen, not expecting it to happen, knowing and not knowing what's going to happen. So, for example, I like this analogy. If I went up to a doorknob and I turned it and I pulled it to open the door, I expect that to happen. So often I don't even notice when I'm opening a door. I don't pay attention to it. It's not a big thing. But if I go to open the doorknob and I pull it and something falls from the ceiling, now I'm going to pay attention. Next time I open a doorknob, I'm going to be very careful. I'm going to be careful. When I turn, is something going to fall on me? There's an element of unpredictability that draws my attention to it. And so I think it's this balance of things being within our expectations. Like, if we expect it to happen, then we don't even notice it. But if it's too far outside of our expectations, we can't even understand it. So I think there is this balance of expecting and predicting something to happen and knowing what's going to happen, but also not knowing. Because if we know it all the time, we don't even notice it. When I toss something up in the air and it falls, yeah, I mean, it falls. That's what happens, right? I expect that to happen. I know with pretty much absolute certainty, if I toss something up, it's going to fall. But if I were to toss something up and it kept going, I would be really confused because it doesn't meet my expectations. I may be confused. I may be excited. I may be angry. I may be scared. A lot of emotions, I think, come from that uncertainty when something doesn't meet our expectations. So I think, there is this balance to having life that is unpredictable yet predictable. And I think sometimes we just get overwhelmed with too much unpredictability, and it makes us feel lots of different things and we don't know what to do. It doesn't provide a lot of safety. We don't feel very safe when we're not sure what's going to happen because we just can't rely on it. Our system is on overdrive trying to figure out what's going to happen. So I think for many of us, this is just a very strange time where we're many of us staying at home, being in the same physical environment, I would say, pretty much every day. I've never spent this much time in this house. I grew up in this house, and I've probably spent more time in this house over the last year than I did arguably growing up, because I was always out at school. I was always playing sports. And so that environment is very predictable. I know where everything in the house is. I pretty much know what's going to happen with almost everything in the house. But the unpredictability about everything else that's happening around me, outside of the house, on the internet, in the news, in the local environment, in the foreign environment. Maybe that's the weird combination, feeling so in my direct environment, feeling so comfortable and so certain about what's going to happen. And then feeling so uncertain about the things that are happening really far away. And so putting my attention and putting my focus on a lot of these things that are outside of my control, that are outside of my local environment. Is that happening to you as well? Like, are you paying a lot of attention to the things that aren't in your house, that aren't in your, immediate surroundings, the things that you can sense, you can hear, you could see, you could smell, you could touch? I really think that we are in a situation right now where if we could, if we do disconnect from a lot of the internet, we may feel actually a lot better. Because a lot of the internet is bringing in so much of this uncertainty and this unpredictability and drawing our attention towards it, especially as we have so much predictability around us. I wonder if that's a key to it, because when I go to a conference or when I'm hanging out with a lot of people, especially new people, I barely look at my phone. It's probably because there's so much uncertainty and unpredictability about what's going to happen with those people. What are they going to say? What are they going to do? If I ask them a question, how are they going to respond? What's the next event that's going to happen? What's the crisis that's going to happen? For example, if I'm on a conference that's got 40 people or so, things always come up, Somebody may run away. Somebody may open up and talk about how somebody, a friend of theirs committed suicide. Somebody may have a panic attack. Somebody may want to have a one-on-one conversation, et cetera, et cetera. And so in those environments, I tend to not pay attention to the internet because maybe I'm getting my fill of unpredictability, And, when being at home with so much, maybe everyone's got a different situation. Maybe for some people being at home is filled with tons of unpredictability and uncertainty. And so therefore they're feeling the stress of that as well, try to figure out what's going on. Maybe that drives them to the internet as a distraction from the unpredictability at home. I don't know. I'd say for me, a lot of it is that the home environment is quite predictable, and quite safe and quite certain. I kind of know what's going to happen in different scenarios. And I think I search for more unpredictability outside. And the challenge is the internet provides a fire hose of unpredictability. Just having my phone on, I turned it off right now, but if I had the phone on, anytime I get a notification, it could be the full range of things. It could be anything from someone professing their love to saying someone died, to saying I'm on the brink of committing suicide, to saying President Trump is no longer president, to saying President Trump is forever going to be the president, to saying a meteor hit the earth, to saying new technology will solve the energy problem. It's just, there's so much unpredictability that can happen from these little devices that it can be really addictive. Craving that unpredictability, craving not knowing what's going to happen. Again, it can drive so much emotion, right? The phone, the notification goes off, bling, bling, or whatever, and I can feel anger, I can feel uncertainty, I can feel excitement, I can feel confusion, I can feel disgust, I can feel gratitude, I can feel safe, I can feel so many different things after I look at the notification. But in that bling, I feel just this anxiety, actually, not sure what's going to happen, this anxiousness, this kind of overwhelm of emotion a lot of times. And I think it's so subtle. It's an overwhelm, but I think it's so subtle that many times we don't even notice how we're feeling when this thing happens. I think we compulsively will check our phones. What's happening now? I got to know what's happening. What's happening? I got to know what's happening. I got to know what's happening. It's like, no, you don't. So I wonder if just the nature of the technology, the nature of the beast, is what brings so much anxiety to us in times like this. If I were to turn off my phone right now and I turn off the internet, turn off the TV, and turn off the radio, I'm just here in the house. The thing that's changing is the weather. The weather's a little unpredictable. Maybe what some of the animals around the house are doing. Other than that, most of the things are quite predictable in the house. I was born and raised here, so I know the house pretty well. But maybe sometimes we need that. Maybe sometimes we need to disconnect from the fire hose of uncertainty and just kind of be. See, even running a platform, doing a show like this, for the most time, I'm just speaking in the camera, but then there's this ability for people to comment on the side or within Facebook or Twitter or YouTube. And boom, uncertainty. Now I just got a comment. Ooh, what's the rush of the excitement? Oh, somebody commented. What they comment? Oh, it's a comment about politics. Oh, no. Like I could feel the dread sit in. Like, oh, do I really want to take the conversation in that direction? And I could feel kind of hesitancy and anger towards myself. Oh, no, don't do it. Like frustration. I can feel so many emotions building up because of one notification, one piece of information that came in. And if I respond, I'm not sure how this person is going to respond. I'm not sure if there are other people there who are going to respond as well with a point that agrees with me or contradicts me or shouts at me or thanks me or who knows. And so just to take a moment and recognize that just that micro interaction, one comment and the emotions it can bring to us. And then now amplify that to a platform like Twitter or Facebook, where you post something and then people comment. And it's like, whoa, it's just boom, punching with so many different elements of uncertainty that we feel so many things so quickly. And we may not realize it. So right now, like, let me see. I don't know how to respond sometimes to political stuff right now, because I'm tired, and I don't know if it actually makes me feel better paying attention to politics. Because it brings, especially in the last couple of years, there's been so much uncertainty that happens day to day. It's like I can turn on the news and, oh, something big happened. Oh, something small happened. Oh, something big happened. Oh, we're getting into a war. We're not getting into a war. We're getting into a war. We're not getting into a war. It's just, I'm kind of tired of being thrown around based on other people's actions, right? And being at the beck and whim to these people's actions. That I don't have to be. I can turn off the news. I can turn off some of these commentators who seem to be shouting into the screens. I can stop absorbing some of the emotions of these people. Stop letting them insert so much unpredictability in my life. And someone says to stop watching the news. I've thought about it. Like, the challenge is, even if I'm not watching the news, if I'm doing something like this and people are commenting, it can bring the news into my environment. In a way, it's stop watching the news can help. Sometimes stop. I think what I need, maybe, I'm exploring this for me, and it's different for each person, but I think what I want is less unpredictability and more predictability in my life. Just right now, just to kind of calm down, instead of, I think some people think it's just the news, but it's anyone. I can turn on Facebook and someone can say, oh, did you know that this happened? This happened. It's like, whoa, no, I didn't know. Now I feel angry or confused or but I don't know if I really needed to know that. Right. I think that's one of the unspoken things, the things that we don't talk about very much these days, is that by increasing the frequency and quantity of communication that we have with different people, especially the number of people we're talking with, it introduces a level of uncertainty that I would say is unprecedented in human existence. I don't like to say this much, but I don't like to say like unprecedented, but the technology that we have for communication is unprecedented. Human beings have never been able to communicate across the whole world for free. Right now, I have people commenting who are in, my area, some people who are in Europe, and, before I've had people commenting from Africa, or who knows, maybe somebody will chime in from Hong Kong. And there is this, there's so much uncertainty when you don't know who's going to jump into the conversation at what point. And for most of human existence, we've had conversations with people who were in our immediate surroundings. And so we had an idea of who might jump in. We don't know what they would necessarily say, but we knew them somewhat. So we probably had an idea of what they may say. But now with the internet, people, especially if it's public on Twitter, people could chime in from anywhere and say anything and post anything. That level of uncertainty can sure be exciting at times. Oh my God, I don't know what's going to happen. The person could give me a death threat, or the person could give me a job offer, or the person could give me money, or the person could destroy my career. It's so uncertain. I don't like, and I have, and I'm guilty of, I'm guilty of this. I feel bad sometimes, or I feel embarrassed that sometimes I'll have the news on all the time. And by news, I'm not just talking about the CNNs or the what people label as mainstream media. I mean, just any form of news, any form of constant input that's coming from another source. Right? It could be listening to a radio station. It could be listening to a TV channel, to TV news. It could be having Twitter on all day. It could be having Facebook on all day. It could be having any kind of sort of nonstop flood of information that's coming from outside of my immediate surroundings. And I don't know, is it just me, or does it get exhausting at times? Constantly being on edge, not knowing what's going to happen, and feeling addicted to it. I know I'm not the only one who feels addicted to this stuff. Why do we pay so much attention to it? Because it's bringing that uncertainty to us. It's bringing new stuff to us. I think sometimes we can blame the people who are doing this. Oh, these people are biased. They're against me. They're trying to screw my life. I don't think we often stop and just look at the form factor of it. Anything that brings something new to me is probably going to create some type of unpredictability in me, and then therefore some type of emotional response. And the more unpredictable things they bring, the more kind of emotional response I'll probably have. And we talk about drug addiction, we talk about gambling addiction. Why is gambling addictive? Because, again, the unpredictability. They talk about variable ratio returns, I believe it's called. So it's the idea of when you pull a slot machine. Well, you don't pull them anymore. You press a button typically. But when you would pull the lever on a slot machine, it'll ding, 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 ding. If you win every 1 out of 10 times, it's boring. You don't play. But if you win 1 out of 5, unpredictable amount of times. So if you play for 10 times and you win 1, and then you play for another 10 times and you win 3 times, and then you play for another 10 times and you win 0 times, and you play for another 10 times and you win really big, you're going to keep pulling because you never know what's going to happen on the next pull. So when the reward is not predictable, then we keep playing the game. And I don't think we talk enough about news addiction, or about internet addiction, or about Twitter addiction, or Facebook addiction. And I think it's real. So many of us just feeling compulsively checking our phones, compulsively checking the internet, compulsively listening to the radio or watching television to see. We need to know what's going to happen. Does it really impact our lives that much? Does it really help us that much? Can we really do much about it? Or does it just fill us with all these different emotions, and emotions that we project onto the other parts of our lives? The more that I watch news, when I say news, I'm talking about, let's just say internet. The more that I'm kind of clued into many parts of the internet and social media and news, the more I take all those emotions I'm feeling and I just project them on the people I care about. I can get really frustrated with listening to some things that are happening in society, and then just blast them all over my friends. And it ruins a lot of the relationships. And so I wonder for how many of us, it will just be healthy to take breaks from the internet, from digital media, from radio. I don't know how to describe it, but you know what I mean? From distant communication, from communicating with things outside of our immediate environment, to just turn off the external, kind of the distant world, and to just be here. I think it can really, we can spend so much time trying to predict what's happening outside of our environment. And you know what? I honestly don't think we as humans are built for that. I think we're really good at taking in sensory information from around us, taking in the stimuli from our immediate surroundings, and predicting what will happen in that environment. This predicting what's going to happen to somebody else outside of our immediate surroundings, I think we can kind of do it, but I don't think we do it as well as we think we do. And I think we almost get hacked. We almost get stuck in this they would call an infinite loop in programming. Infinite, in loops, typically you're supposed to run them like you repeat it like 3 times maybe or 10 times. It's one thing you do once and then you repeat it a certain number of times. An infinite loop is when you do it and then you repeat it and then you repeat it and you repeat it and you repeat it and you get stuck and you can't get out of that loop. And I think for so many of us, the loop is trying to figure it out. And once we figure it out, we exit the loop. I don't know, I need to know. Once I know, I leave the loop. But I don't know, I still don't know, I still don't know, I still don't know, I need to know, I still don't know, and keep going in that loop can drive us insane. Insane. We just get stuck in, I don't know, but I need to know, I need to know, I need to know. Oh, I know what it is. Oh, but now I don't know, but I need to know. And just boom. And the more things that we have thrown us into that loop, I think the more we get stuck in that loop. So I didn't comment too much on the comments today. I didn't respond to them. I hope that's okay. I hope people don't feel ignored. I just wanted to stay on track a little bit and focus more on the technological challenges, kind of the platform challenges that we're facing, and less putting blame on any individual in those platforms, trying to understand why so many of us may be feeling a tremendous amount of anxiety in this time of pandemic. It's almost like we have an excuse to say, listen, try to disconnect from all the stuff that's happening very far away from you, because now this is just a time for hibernation. This is a time for kind of going in cocoon or whatever you want to say, and be focused and to really, really rest and recover in some ways. An opportunity to take almost a vacation or staycation, if you may. But yet at the same time, feeling so trapped sometimes at home and wanting and craving the uncertainty and the unpredictability of what's out there. So maybe it's not about having zero unpredictability or about having zero predictability, but really about mitigating the unpredictability that comes with the internet, that comes with communicating with the distant world. How do we mitigate the uncertainty that some of these new technologies can bring us? That's the question for me as I end this, and grateful for the people who are watching in. Love you all, and glad that you clued into this little video here. And at the same time, if you're not cluing in, that's fine too. That means you're not paying attention to the distant world. You're not at the beck and whim of what I may say that may throw you into this emotion or into that emotion. So that's okay too. I think I'm going to step back a little bit and try to relax this weekend and turn off a lot of the internet. A lot of the conversations, the chats, the Facebooks, all these things. It's not just the news. It's the text messages that we get from people that we don't know what they're going to say. It's the Snapchat things we receive. It's so much just communicating with the distant world and not sure what's going to happen. Hell, there's enough uncertainty in communicating with the things around us that we don't necessarily need to inject so much uncertainty from the outside. So on that note, I hope you all enjoying your Friday, Furahi Day. They say in Swahili, Furahi Day means like celebration, rejoicement day. So I hope you all take care, and just be a little more focused on your present surroundings, perhaps. Soak those up a little more. All right. Take care, y'all.